Trump versus Clinton, a nasty start with a long way to go.
From the Battelle studio at WOSU at COSI, this is Columbus on the Record. Joining Mike Thompson this week, Mark Niket, reporter for Bloomberg News. Julie Carr-Smythe, State House correspondent for the Associated Press. Gene Krebs, former state legislator, and Joseph Moss of the Ohio Hispanic Coalition.
In the week before Memorial Day, the race for president featured an inspector general's report that said Secretary of State Hillary Clinton broke all kinds of rules with her private email server. Donald Trump ran an ad featuring decades-old allegations of sexual assaults by Bill Clinton. Hillary Clinton found an old clip of Donald Trump predicting he would make money if the housing market went bust.
Donald Trump actually rooted for the housing crash that cost 5 million families their homes. I'm not making this up. We called him out on it yesterday using his own words. And you know what he said in response? Well, he bragged about what he did. He said, and I'm quoting now, "That's the kind of thinking our country needs."
I see this lowlife. She puts on an ad. Did you know that Donald Trump was rooting against housing because he wanted housing to go down because he wanted to buy? And they've got some clip of me from many years ago where I'm saying, yeah, if it goes down, I'm going to buy. I'm a businessman. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Mark Niket, so much for Donald Trump being presidential, calling his opponent, a former First Lady, U.S. Senator, and Secretary of State, a lowlife. That plays well with his supporters, but he needs more than that going forward.
Right. And Hillary Clinton came out later and said that he's an urgent threat to our country as well. So here we are 6 months away or whatever it is, and the rhetoric is already over the top. And it's going to be interesting to see how this race plays out, because the starting point is both of these candidates have just such high negatives. They're so unliked. Poll after poll just shows unfavorability for both of them. If I had $1 for every time the phrase lesser of two evils is used between now and the election, I think I'd be rich at the end of it. But you know what's disconcerting maybe about the setup right now is, you know, it's been all about personalities. I mean, we haven't really got into a focus of anything substantive, and maybe that's still to come as, you know, we get the nominees in place. But, you know, just to start the race with this name calling back and forth at this level doesn't bode well for the tenor of the general election.
How does the average independent, not overly partisan, he or she votes all the time, but is not watching this closely, how are they watching this? What are they thinking?
Well, I think, and that's the problem, the low or lower information voter. Because it's not just the words that are being used, but also the topics that are being advanced. The conspiracy theories is, oh, well, you know that Hillary is crooked, because everybody knows that she's crooked, and not getting down to specifics as to exactly what it is. And if people hear these things without a challenge, without a rebuttal, then I think that the lower information voter might be swayed by that.
But to build upon Mark's point, for those of us in the Christian community, I mean, Donald Trump's a cad. Bill Clinton's a cad. Okay. For those of us, we kind of look at what would Jesus do? It'd be like Jesus having to choose to vote between Herod and Pontius Pilate. You know, this is not a good choice, and we're just kind of looking around and going, this is not. We're very, very, very concerned.
Right, and I mean the negativity going in, the lack of popularity of each candidate really has started this tone. But in addition, I think that they're looking now for a soundbite every single day. They're looking to this 24-hour news cycle to give them some kind of a pop every single day, because what are they going to do from here till then if they're not just shaking hands, knocking on doors?
Well, if you look at, I mean, I don't know if it was intentional or not. It could just been Donald Trump being Donald Trump. But they went from a pretty serious issue on how he, as a real estate developer, possibly, it turns out he probably didn't, but he possibly could have made money off from the housing collapse, to him calling her a name. So what gets the attention is him calling her a name and his theatrical response to it, rather than his business background. Mark, I mean, is that intentional, or is that, am I thinking too much there?
Yeah, it's hard to know, and there's been some what's the right word, uncertainty about what Trump is doing, because, the thought was, this style that he used helped him win the nomination, that it played well to, a certain part of the base, got him victories in some of these states. But the thought was, at some point, you do have to make a pivot to a general election and become more presidential and not just, sort of this slapstick, reality show game name calling business. And it hasn't happened yet. And some people are wondering, well, is this going to be the general election strategy for Donald Trump?
And then one thing that happened this past week was it came out about Hillary and the email servers, and let's just simply say none of that was complimentary to her, and it reinforced people's already uncomplimentary ideas towards her, and it's just made everybody but I go back to what I said also, I've said every time, December 14, she will not be the nominee, she will not be the nominee.
But the thing is that in Ohio, Trump does not, he doesn't have a very good traditional campaign network. What he needs is these kind of bumps. He needs this earned media, which means things that people will cover without him paying for it, because he doesn't have really a field game at all. So I think we're going to see more and more of it.
Joe, to the email question, the Inspector General report said that she may not have broken any laws, but she certainly broke the rules and the procedures of the State Department. She says, well, I was consistent with what past secretaries of state have done.
Exactly.
What she means is that Colin Powell and John Kerry occasionally sent email on their Gmail account. They didn't have a server in their basement where they sent all their emails. So it's that legalese that catches her.
It depends, and I'm not sure that she's necessarily advancing the legalese. As a matter of fact, as an attorney, I am worried about the legalese, because I think it's very easy for the general public, some elements of the general public, to hear that you did something that was inconsistent or you did something that was outside of the rules, and here you did something illegal. And that, in fact, has not yet been proven and probably will never be.
Why not just say, I messed up. Sorry.
Well, I think she has said
Well, no,
that.
not really. She said, well,
She
mistakes
said
were
everybody
made,
did it.
and
She said
in
everybody
hindsight, I
else,
wish I hadn't done it.
my predecessors did it.
But they didn't do it.
But
They
she
used
said,
their private
she,
email
she
account.
said it was really bad of her to do it.
Yeah.
Look, all this is just very corrosive to democracy, and at the end of the day, it's going to have a negative impact. And I'll give you one bit of data. We've talked a lot about opinions. I'll give you a little bit of data to illustrate how this is going to pan out. People keep saying, will Trump win? Will she win? There's been some good data on the fact that the suburban women do not like Donald Trump, what I call the NPR GOP. Columbiana County, 50% district, very, very evenly balanced in that county. Normally they poll 4,200 ballots for Republicans and 4,200 ballots for Democrats in a primary. In 2016, they polled 8,000 Democrat ballots, but they polled 19,000 Republican ballots, and Donald Trump got 8,000 votes. So in other words, I think if you look at Appalachia,
No question.
he is going to be scoring huge victories in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Conversely, I think he's going to, can I even say this, lose Dublin and Hilliard?
But Gene, I don't think those same folks were voting for Barack Obama either.
No, they were not. We have data to prove that
Yeah.
by 5 percentage points.
Yeah.
Real quick, Julie, Tim Ryan got on the floor of the Congress this week and denounced the Donald Trump housing comments. Youngstown is where Ryan represents. That was an area hit hard by the housing crisis, but a lot of those folks there like Donald Trump. Is this a way for the Democrats to use the housing situation against Donald Trump? Will it have any effect?
I think they're still struggling for that, yes, that sort of white, middle class, blue collar sort of voter, and where that person is going to fall in November, because and housing is a really key thing. Now, we did notice that when we saw people try in the Kasich races to use the Lehman Brothers crash against him, that did not
Didn't
do
work.
anything. Nobody really cared. It was a long time ago. Will housing be a more tangible issue this time around?
It'll be interesting to watch. Ohio is poised to legalize marijuana for medical use. This has been proposed for years, but has gone nowhere. But with at least one medical pot amendment likely on the fall ballot, and with 90% of Ohioans supporting medical pot, Lawmakers acted. A divided Senate gave its okay this week. The House agreed to the changes the Senate made, and the bill now awaits Governor Kasich's signature. The basics: doctors need to write the prescriptions. They would be used to treat 20 conditions. Patients can't grow it, and they can't smoke it. Julie Carr-Smythe, is this something the governor is going to sign? Is there any question about that?
There's a little bit of a question. They left it somewhat open-ended. My guess would be that he is going to sign it. Obviously, they would rather have that than the constitutional amendment, and they've been saying that all along, they being the Republican majority. But it's a very carefully crafted compromise. I mean, there was a lot of vote persuasion going on at the State House this week. It only cleared the Senate by 3 votes. Conservatives got up against it, Democrats got up against it, and vice versa for it. And I think that little elements of it had to be offered. So it's not the perfect, a compromise is never perfect for anyone, so.
Why the reluctance? 90% of the public wants it. For a politician, that's a slam dunk.
Culture and history. It's just been something that decent people don't do for a long, long time. The problem is that a lot of decent people have tried pot and sometimes do smoke it.
Gene, you've been pretty passionate in your opposition to this. What do you think of this bill and what's proposed right now?
I think the bill is probably as good as the compromise we can get. It gets the high moral ground away from the pot legalization advocates. The loophole I see with their ballot initiative to put in the Constitution is, first of all, it's in the Constitution, which means you can't modify it as things change or if you make a drafting error. And I will tell you, these amateurs always make a drafting error. The other thing is that there's a loophole in it that you can go ahead and raise 2-3 plants at home for yourself, which, and then we have the other issue that we need to deal with, which is if a cop sees somebody driving erratically, can they stop them, and how do you go ahead and begin this process of testing for, marijuana overuse, which would be a whole new employment sector for the law community.
They do it now.
Not effectively. There's no good way to measure it, though. The only thing we can do right now is have the state trooper wave a bag of Doritos out the window and see if they lunge for it without opening up the window. Bag of Doritos, a can of Pepsi. What are you going to go for here, folks? And then,
there's a lot of people who like Doritos.
They can blood.
I love
blood
Doritos.
test it, and I think the urine shows it as well, but blood is.
But
show.
then you got to take them to the hospital. You got to do all that stuff, and right now, trust me, it's just going to be a huge problem, and we don't know how to adequately police it. I think they did the best they could possibly do.
Mark, what happens now? They're still collecting signatures to get this on the ballot. There's 2 questions out there. One has money, one is more of a grassroots organization. Does it still get on the ballot? And if it does, what's the campaign? It seems so hard to sell this now that we have it.
Yeah, the differences, don't seem like to be driving a lot of turnout per se. On the one hand, the bill doesn't allow you to smoke marijuana, for example. There's other forms to take it for medicinal purposes. The ballot measure apparently would allow you to smoke it. The ballot measure would allow you to grow some at home as opposed to not under the bill. And the overarching question, I think, about all of this is, does this put us on the path towards recreational use or legalization of recreational marijuana? Because it seemed to me that the legislature, if you look at how this was crafted, was very clear in trying to make a distinction that this is just for medicinal purposes and not try to make this as sort of a gateway into recreational use. And as far as the ballot issue this fall, if that's what they're really interested in is getting recreational marijuana, do they vote for this thinking that might be a bigger bridge towards, eventually allowing recreational use?
Well, in that way, the legislation was a pretty good wedge between, because if they have to come out and make a campaign hey, our issue will allow you to grow your own and smoke it, it sounds an awful lot like recreational. What I think that they're going to try to do instead is to say, look, the very highly respected Republican-led Ohio House and Senate have said that this is a good idea. And so this is just an even better form of that.
Now, let me surprise you and give a sympathetic statement to the advocates of medical marijuana. The problem is there's so little evidence saying that medical marijuana actually has any actual benefit. We have a lot of anecdotes, plural of anecdotes, it's not data. Placebo effect could also come into play here because we can't really study it's a Schedule I drug. But as the states come forward with this, we should be able to have, and we don't yet have enough data to say is this a drug or is it an herb? And so far, it's an herb.
The argument for those advancing the amendment is that you should allow people to grow it because it's a cost-saving measure for the individuals that need it for medicinal purposes.
Is that an effective campaign strategy to get people who are in the middle to vote for you? I mean, the other side's going to say, look, we did it, and it's tightly controlled, and it's responsible, and this is good enough.
That's right. They're going to say it's still too expensive. I think you can do it. Look, the recreational use, I think either way, is probably going to pass within the next 1 or 2 or 3 years.
But I do think it's also possible that the campaign goes to the anti-pharma message and says basically you can control it yourself versus having to go through a pharmacist and a vaporizer and a prescription
All right.
recommendation.
Columbus police officers are closer to having to wear body cameras. The city of Columbus has issued its first bid request for body cams. City officials plan to have hundreds of officers wearing them over the next few years. They still need to work out many details. Which officers will wear them? When will they turn them on and off? What happens to the recordings? And who gets to see those recordings? Joe Mas, you're an attorney. What would you like to see in this body camera policy?
Well, let's review a little bit as to what it is right now. And this is something that Mayor Ginther advanced during the campaign. So he's going forward with his promise. And it's going to be, as you say, a gradual introduction over the next 3 years to cover about 1,460 officers. The rules that they are suggesting for right now is that you're not going to have them on all the time, but as you approach a citizen or a suspect, that then they should be turned on. There's also some rules as to how long these recordings are going to be kept, and of course the ones that contain evidence pursuant to an arrest that will be kept longer.
How long are the dash cam recordings kept now? Do you know?
I don't know, but I can tell you that because we do have rules on speedy trial that the evidence is going to become known to the defendant and to the defendant's counsel. We know early on as to when that is, and then those are always kept.
You can say
I've never had a serious problem with that. I think you have in civil cases more.
So where do we go from here? I mean, how do you decide when to turn it on and off? What happens if you forget to turn it on and something happens?
Yeah, but this goes, basically the reason we're doing this is because of Ferguson.
In other cases.
Well,
In other cases, but let's face it, and there's been, and you see, but there's what's called the Ferguson effect, which I think these body cameras will help address, and that is because of after Ferguson, because of the changes in police procedure on the street, we now have a 17% increase of violent crime in a lot of these cities, in these highly urban areas. And they believe, the research indicates, I've not seen the raw data, but I've read the analysis, and they say it is due to changes in policing.
Being police officers are less aggressive.
Police officers are less aggressive, less stop and frisk, that type of stuff. Hey, you look like you're guilty of something, let's just talk for a moment. And usually if you are guilty, you'll start radiating like a bad Japanese nuclear power plant, and I can pick it up pretty quick with my police Geiger counter. Well, the thing's going to go on now is that this is, I think, going to help cops, give them an affirmative defense, and maybe get them back, into a more high. Tell me what you're doing here at this street this time of day type of facility.
I actually like Gene's analysis because it covers both a more conservative viewpoint as well as a more progressive viewpoint. If you've got the evidence that you're doing your job and you're doing it properly, nobody, either the citizen nor the officer, need to be concerned about that. But that 17%, and I agree with you that the data shows that, I think those are just bad cops that are not policing. Well, and I think that they're throwing the community under the bus.
And I think body cameras can also be kind of a double-edged sword in some ways too, because the cost isn't necessarily as much on the front end too in getting the cameras. It's the storage and some of the policies we've been talking about over time. But also, while the body camera can also be a help the police officer in terms of documenting what actually happened, it could also be in some cases an incentive to file lawsuits. We did a story earlier this year about how liability for cities related to police misconduct or actions was increasing, if only because we saw all of these incidents taking place, and it sort of prompted more lawsuits. And actually had a criminal law professor make the case that the evidence of a body camera, just the video of some incidents, can actually promote lawsuits or lead to lawsuits, because it doesn't really capture the whole context, or the visual of itself could be misleading or look bad enough that it promotes a lawsuit.
And that leads to the next battle, which we'll have, which will be like, is this public record? Is this video actually, does it need to be shielded? And we're already seeing states pass bills that shields that as a public record, and then back you go to the drawing board.
Did we have these debates? I can't remember, but when the dash cam came out, we had to have had these same debates and concerns and cost
We
and
did, and resistance.
and how has it worked out?
Nearly 20 years ago, pursuant to a federal court order, Columbus Police was supposed to install those cameras in all their cruisers, and they did not.
But it all worked out. I mean, eventually, for the most part.
I wouldn't say that it
There's
has
still
worked
some
out, but
cars that don't have them.
many.
They're far less controversial, and
Highway Patrol, I can always count on the video being there. Columbus Police, not so.
that you see police officers use those dash cams to promote their officers' work when they've done something well or something heroic. And we've seen people in drunk driving arrests, pro athletes, public figures. It's a double-edged sword. You're right. So, next topic: Columbus and city business leaders are going all in and trying to get a huge federal grant to study high-tech transportation programs. City leaders want to go way beyond thinking about just light rail systems. They're thinking fleets of autonomous cars. Imagine that. Also linking those self-driving cars to buses and bikes. You can jump from one to the other. Gene Krebs, you've studied this for quite a while. What do you make of this fleets of autonomous cars system?
I hate to use a cliche, but it is smart, and here's the reason why. Much to people's surprise, only 25% of Columbus is dense enough to actually support transit.
Public transit, light rail, you mean?
Public transit, bus systems, anything along those lines. Because Columbus is basically a post-World War II city. Okay, look at the Columbus footprint of 1950 versus now. Okay, high density, small lots, all that. So the smart cars, it's a good adaptation for a place like Columbus. I would not recommend it for a place, for example, like Cleveland, which still has much a higher density potential. Basically, here mass transit works very well in Clintonville, German Village, okay, Marion. It will not work as you get further out, especially those areas that have been underneath the infamous win-win scenario.
Yeah, the school, suburban sprawl areas.
Yeah.
But you could also argue that because we haven't had this kind of a system that's been as robust, that the city grew up that way, and it would change. I mean, that happens too, that people begin to live nearer to a transportation corridor.
Yeah, but you're not going to start tearing down whole swaths of a cul-de-sac and putting in, high rises.
We did that for highways.
Yes, Robert Moses did many things, but no, I'd say it's a fairly smart thing, and I think Columbus would make a good fit for it, just because it's a post-World War II city.
But there are other things in this proposal other than for the smart or autonomous vehicles, are there not? I would hope that we continue to look at transportation from the airport, for example.
Yeah, they're looking at like smart highways and sensors, so you can sense where the congestion is and things like that. I mean, is a smart city going to add lanes to the outer belt? I guess that's the big question.
Well, and part of this gets to, you want to encourage more use of vehicles versus mass transit or, other types of transportation, light rail, and how much of your planning goes into that, or how much of it is accommodating what's actually taking place in terms of people's transportation preferences. Yeah.
But what this plays into, though, also is, like you mentioned, it's the whole amount of data and to be able to manage the data and be able to help direct, the best ways for people to travel. And I think what this does, it's an intelligent, low-cost way to deal with the fact that both the U.S. Department of Transportation is going bankrupt. As I've said here for 7 years, the Ohio Department of Transportation is rapidly heading towards bankruptcy too, or insolvency. You can't build the roads.
Yeah, the issue of infrastructure funding in general is just so bad. It's good that there's actually consideration of these type of smart technologies or ways to address transportation, because Gene's right. The traditional way we've paid for infrastructure just isn't working, and you don't see a big solution on the future.
Let's get to our off-the-record final parting shots. Joe Mas, you're up first.
Yeah, Mike, and I think you know about this. This week, the Coalition of Immokalee Workers organized a protest at Wendy's stockholders meeting for the past 3 years. They've been trying to get Wendy's to sign on to a fair working conditions for farm labor here in the United States, but Wendy's has answered by buying its produce, tomatoes primarily, from abroad. So a boycott has been called.
Gene.
I just recently finished Dreamland by Sam Quinones, which, if you want to understand how the opiate and the black heroin explosion occurred, the central role Ohio's had in it. The book is controversial. The federal DEA is not exactly a fan of some portions of it, but my sources say, but I'd recommend the book for people if you want to understand it.
Julie.
Of course, Memorial Day weekend kicks off the official beginning of the political season, and not as if it hasn't been on and on, but I think you'll start to see things heat up this coming week, particularly in a race we didn't talk about today, but in the Senate race, pouring millions and millions of dollars, all outside groups, campaigns, and that will probably be a nasty one too.
Are they running ads in that race yet? Mark.
This week, the Ohio legislature voted to name the Port Columbus International Airport after Marine aviator, Mercury astronaut, and U.S. Senator John Glenn. And sometimes these kind of naming gestures seem forced or even gratuitous, but I can't think of a more fitting tribute to one of Ohio's greatest pilots and citizens.
Amen.
And I'm glad that they changed the name for all those reasons. And now I no longer have to explain to relatives why it's called Port Columbus. Where are the boats, they said. If you want to know why it's called Port Columbus, you can see it at our website, wosu.org. Our Curious City section answers that question. That is Columbus on the Record for this week. Continue the discussion online at our website, also Facebook and Twitter. For our crew and for our panel, I'm Mike Thompson. Have a good week.